Okay, so we're going to talk about teaching and could anyone do it?
Absolutely not.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
I mean, yes.
Hey, welcome to Ed, a podcast about the teaching life. This is Check-In 34, and I'm your host, Shane Lawrence. Ed is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. And joining me this month is Shaun Smith.
Greetings.
Here to wreck everything as usual. And for the second time now, John Courville.
Hey, everybody.
Awesome, right. You sound like you're totally pumped up. This is great.
I wanted to say a sponsorship thing. Like
Hello
and I bank
Justin
at
Bieber's
ATB.
already done. He's done with us. He ran his course.
True. Yeah.
There's
I was
no
going to
more-
make an ATB reference because I figured you're sponsored.
We have to be
by
nice
that.
to them because they're paying for this.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
I just found out what ATB stands for this last week. It was
Yeah, but they're trying to do like sort of the KFC kind of thing right now.
Is that a record? Did I derail in the first?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
Well done.
off
You
on
haven't even
That's
started
good.
yet, and you've already wrecked. See, you're here to wreck
I'm
everything.
back.
No, because they want to do because Alberta Treasury Board, it sounds like too piratey. So they wanted to.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that
Ye
nice?
old Alberta
Treasury board. That's what it is?
yeah.
Yeah, Alberta Treasury Board. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So but they wanted to get away from like the whole Treasury Board thing. They just want ATB. It's kind of it's like the KFC thing. They don't want the fried in there anymore. So
They don't want Treasury in there?
I guess so.
I'm taking my money away from them then. Sorry, I can't say that. You just lost your
I'm gonna
sponsorship.
go invest
Great.
with them.
Well done. Well done.
go open an
This is
account.
what I'm going to say. I'm obliged to say that this is what editing is for, but I'm not going to edit this out.
Yeah, no, I think I actually want a transactional system where instead of going to a window and putting in my card,
Yeah.
I want to take a big treasure box out every time, and that I just have to heft it into my trunk.
And everyone behind the counter is got eye patches and
Full of
I
nickels and
hope they
pennies.
hear this and they reconsider everything that they're doing because that
Here's hoping. And that's how I got kicked out of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB.
Sorry about that.
All right. Well, this month we're going to be talking about teaching and could anyone do it? And we're going to get there, but we are obliged, speaking of obligations, to start with wins and fails. So, wins and fails, gents. What have we got?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
I can. I've got a win.
Of course you do.
I think I shared this one the last time I was on, but
Oh, maybe.
it's continued.
that was last month.
We're still going with the same one. The I think I made mention last time too of just recognizing when something is going so well and not manically moving to the next thing. So I think in whenever I was at teachers college, they always called that timing and making sure you're going with timing. And I always felt the pressure to produce more. And so it was almost like if you can compare the classroom to a band and they're in the middle of their song and it's a really good song. And you're like, well, you kind of Kanye West it and you're like, hold on a second.
That's a verb now.
Yeah, it's you kind of step into the middle and you're like, no, we got to go to the next thing. And it devalues the whole process. So I've been really cognizant of that. And our assignment that has actually lasted for the last 4 weeks finally came to a close today. And it was super good. Like we heard one of the initiatives our school is doing is trying to get, or they're saying they're wanting to do, is to get to know the stories of students. I get to do that. So
Just straight up. Yeah, I've come in your class a couple of times just returning the Chromebook card and just that's the project, right?
That's the project,
And there's
yeah.
somebody just stand up front, just kind of lean on a
yeah,
desk, just talking about them.
yeah, sharing stories, sharing 5 evidences from their life. And as they're sharing those 5 evidences, we ask questions. So the peanut gallery asks questions at the end. Been absolutely incredible to see how everything from divorce to family to grandparents to everything shapes these kids. And it's as courage has increased because kids are being honest, it's become a normal thing in our room to just have honest and I would say very courageous conversations about, there's one boy who his dad works a lot and when he's at home he still works and he cried over it and he's kind of one of our rough boys.
Right.
Absolutely beautiful. And that's not like a one-off. That's what I've spent the last 2 months of my life really.
Right.
And it's been really cool to
Just
so I would say that's a
your
win.
children cry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, but
destroying them for your guys' classes. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've,
Okay.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been really cool though, and finally
Yeah.
not cutting that short has been a win because we've always had those sort of standards in my room, but this is the first time where I've let myself enter in as well. So that's a win for me.
Absolutely.
Also, Monday is over. So that's another win I'd like stated.
Big plus.
Yeah. Everything goes up from there.
Only one more Monday till the break.
Come on.
One
That's
more.
Preach.
Yeah, at least for us here in our special place that we don't talk about.
Yeah. The Alberta Treasury Board.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right.
A win. I'm realizing that my science and math classes don't need to just be science and math classes. We had an ethical debate the other day over protective equipment in vehicles.
Ooh.
Oh, we were talking about how things are developed, airbags, seat belts. Is it a beneficial thing? And part of the class goes, yeah. Part of the class goes, no. Like sometimes these things can injure you and leave you harmed, even though it saves your life. So we kind of had this ethical debate. Can the government tell us, or can they tell us that we need to have these safety things in our vehicles if it could leave us more harmed, even though it saves our life? So life over limb. And we had this ethical debate,
cool.
and
fun.
over this safety stuff in science. It was really cool. I'm realizing more and more as a new teacher, that the more you make your classroom a place where people can be open and a place where they want to be, the better results you get in terms of, quote unquote, standardized testing as well. If students want to perform, they want to dig deeper into this stuff, their curiosity drives their learning instead of, you must learn this because you must learn this. It's really interesting.
That's cool.
It's a win for me.
Relationship drives everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I had a fail that's not horribly depressing. So, but the only fail I could share would probably be like a really horrible one. So I'm not going to do that. I don't want to bring this down. So I'm going to go with the win instead. How about that? We've been, my drama class, my grade 7 drama class this semester started out with 9 kids, which is pretty small. And then it very quickly dwindled to 6. So we had 6 kids in my class. I'm like, I can't even do most of what I have planned because normally, we get into groups and we have all these different things and they interact, and it's like now it's like you get into groups of 1, it's like I can't do it. So I threw out my first 2 and a bit months of planning, and then said, all right, we're going to do a play instead. So we went through a whole different bunch of scripts, and with only 6 kids, it's a pretty specific loadout. And so we found one play that had 7 roles. And so I'm in the play.
Nice.
As a student, I'm like a grade 7 student. I don't know if that part's the win, but just the fact that it is coming together and the kids are like really into it and they're working their butts off, and we're going to be doing it, I think, next Monday.
Cool.
And it's actually been really fun for me to actually get in there and, have to act and develop a character and memorize lines. Like, oh man, those kids, they get after me, man. Oh, because I'm old and memorizing lines is hard. So I've been working hard, and every time I miss something, they're like, no, Mr. Lawrence, it's this. And they actually tell me my lines. I'm like, oh, but I'm getting it now. And every now and then they'll slip up and I'll catch them. And I feel so good.
Yeah.
So
retribution.
Oh yeah. I know it's this weird turnaround where I'm like celebrating every time they mess up. I'm like, yes, you screwed up. I got it. I got you. So, but that's like the one time that I catch them versus, every 10 times they catch me, like, Mr. Lawrence, your line is. I'm like, oh,
this is why we teach.
This is why we teach. Yes.
To catch kids on mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes. Ultimately, just to make ourselves feel better, right? We're just making up for our own crappy high school experiences. We want to be the cool kid now. So, right?
Oh, so
right, guys?
So good. So good. Put that on our resume.
The wounded helper.
Better at sports than the other grade 7 kids.
I'll show them.
You're 32.
I'm also 6'4".
Put me on the team, coach. Put me in. All right. Anyway, so let's get our main topic. I want to talk about can anyone teach? And I don't know. I guess every time this kind of comes up, I immediately go into this really defensive mode. Like, no, I'm professional. I'm a teacher. I got tons of skills. But then I think about the highly improvisational nature of what I do, and I think about like, could really anyone do this? Like, is this just? Are we really professionals? Are we not?
What's the saying?
What's the saying?
What's the saying? Those that can't do teach. Is that right?
Those that can't do
Those that
teach.
can't
Yeah.
teach, Those who can't teach PE.
Yeah, that's right.
Teach what?
Those who can't teach PE.
Yeah.
Teach B.
No, PE.
Like phys ed.
PE.
Yeah. According to Jack Black.
Those who can't teach.
Oh, that's
those who
right.
can't teach
School of
School
Rock.
of Rock. That's right. Yeah.
Great movie.
It's good. Book of
That movie drove me nuts because I was in university at the time, and it just drove me nuts. It was like, he's not teaching curriculum.
that's some good.
I mean,
That's what drove you nuts.
It did. It did. I mean, I know that's really weird, right? But it's one of those. I mean, I'm sure if I watched it again, I probably enjoy the heck out of it because it'd be like, oh, right on. He's like shaking up status quo and way to go. But at the time, I was very much like, no, it needs to be by the book. Check those
I love
boxes.
that movie. That's a sacred movie in our house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what's the question again? We're talking about
Are all Jack Black movies equal?
Yeah,
No,
absolutely. Brought to you
no,
by the
they're not.
Alberta Treasury Board.
Is Jack Black an attractive person? Yes. His personality
Absolutely.
draws people to him.
All right. What? Okay. Whoa. It's like, I thought Shaun grabbed the steering wheel. Then you're like, no, further.
No, I got this.
Everyone's grabbing the steering wheel at this point.
Okay. No, we're talking about can anyone be a teacher? Can anyone could someone just walk in off the street, and be a teacher? This week's episode of Ed is brought to you by Back to School Again. It's a podcast about people who made the decision in midlife to return to school, either to pursue a new type of career or to augment their current career, or just for the sheer challenge of learning something new. It chronicles the personal journey of host Katrina Ingram, who is back in school after more than 2 decades away. The podcast features conversations with a wide range of midlife learners who are currently enrolled in post-secondary studies or have recently completed a post-secondary degree. You can find the episodes and show notes at backtoschoolagain.ca. The podcast is, of course, available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and most other podcatchers. Back to School Again is presented by Northwest College and is an affiliated member of the Alberta Podcast Network. Find it and our other affiliates at albertapodcastnetwork.com.
Wheel at this point.
Oh, okay. No, we're talking about can anyone be a teacher? Can anyone could someone just walk in off the street, and be a teacher?
Well, first we got to talk which country we're teaching in, because in the States you can.
Yeah,
So
that's true, right?
And I have experienced that where private schools. We did a tour of private schools, and they were actually with the same sort of not to cast anyone in any sort of light, but the same requirements for a Walmart greeter was the same for a teacher.
Dude.
So the sort of bragging point or selling point of, and I can only speak for California private school, was student to teacher ratio. And so they had a guy hired that morning who came in with a resume, and he was the gym teacher and the tuition at that school is $16,000 US a year. And you kind of think, well, that's interesting. I mean, that has nothing or very little to do with our discussion, but can anyone teach? I don't have that defensive posture, I don't think, as one who came to the game late as well.
Yeah.
So this is my second career. And I think we also have to be aware of, how much the grind is too. Like, can anyone be a crab fisherman? Sorry, I watched Deadliest Catch.
I thought you said crap fisherman.
crab fisherman from Deadliest Catch.
Yeah.
And the grind alone, I think, would finish off a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I am actually comparing teaching to the grind, because it is a fairly intensive 10 months of the year where you're thinking about school, you're thinking about what didn't work, you're replacing plans in 2.5 months because you have 6 kids in your classroom. You're doing all these different sort of reactive things, but and that's only the administrative part, kind of talking about that. But the other side, and I'll maybe let you jump in. But I think because I think there's a lot more to this too.
Yeah, I think that. You're sorry, John. You want to jump in?
Sure.
Can I pull you in?
There's a lot of thoughts going on in my head right now.
Good question.
I know even during my practicum, there was one of the students in our program who, whenever they were in front of an audience, would feel so uncomfortable that they would almost start crying every time. And to me, I go, why? Like, first of all, I'm curious why they chose teaching. Maybe they loved working with students, but they weren't sure what it would be like when they're in front of a crowd. So some people, they find out, hey, I don't want to be a teacher. It's not something that would fit for my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. My approach with can someone do something is I don't necessarily think teaching is above anybody, but my argument would be, are you willing to put in the amount of work it would take to get the results that you want? So are you willing to put in the time, the planning? Are you able to? Is there in 24 hours in a day, if you get enough sleep and you put in enough work, are you able to get that done in time? And you know what? For some people, it's, yeah, I'm able to do that. And for some people, it's, you know what? I'm not willing to sacrifice 16 hours of my life every day to get this done. It's like, well, then you can't teach. You could teach, but if that's the requirement for you or how much time you'd have to put into it, I don't think you can.
Yeah, I think, when we think about, can anyone teach? I mean, yeah, the immediate sort of scene that plays out in my head is, someone literally walking in off the street, maybe you hand them some lesson plans and they teach. But that doesn't mean they can teach, because teaching isn't all there is to the profession.
Right.
I think, what you're both highlighting is just level of endurance too, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember in my teaching practicum or whatever, like in my little cohort there was 2 people. And I was just like, why are you here? You don't seem like you're cut out for this, because it was the same. They're both like really shy and retiring, not necessarily like crumbling apart, but just not quite fit for it. So there does seem to be some level of like, you need to be cut from a certain kind of cloth to do it. Even if you can stumble with your one lesson, it's like, I'm thinking like, I can skate and I know where the puck goes. Doesn't mean I can play hockey really well. Right.
No. I think on the other end of that too, knowing this as a coach, some of the highest level athletes are the poorest coaches. And so you kind of go, there is a certain, I think there's 2 different questions we're kind of wrestling with. Can you teach? Sure, you can teach kids whatever you want. You can be a terrible teacher. Can you teach well? I think is is everyone capable of teaching well? And I think teaching should, what I'm realizing now is I think teaching should far more be about artistry than about delivering curriculum. Because I think anyone or many people can deliver curriculum. I think you mentioned it too, Courville, about just some of the artistry behind, like when a student, in the absence of relationship, and I'm kind of all over the place, but in the absence of relationship, I find it incredibly difficult to teach. That doesn't mean that I'm the best friend.
No.
But it does mean that I've earned enough trust to be able to have deep conversations and to be, consistent. But I still think, I teach a very difficult subject area. It's religion or Bible. It's generally the most hated class, hopefully not mine, but when I've got here, all studies across North America kind of thing, it's generally one of the most despised classes because it's so rote and so...
Like just by student bodies in general?
Yeah, just by like Kenya released a study, United Kingdom released a study, and it was like, what's your least favorite class? Bible and or religion. So I teach an area where there isn't a really great curriculum, unless one of your listeners want to submit something. But I think there's a certain artistry that as a quality teacher, as a really good teacher, you have to almost see in between the lines of relationship and curriculum should be secondary and all that kind of thing. And I think a lot of us get lost in, I've either got to be best friends with all students because then they won't do anything, or I've got to be the best curriculum and get my principals okay because I got the highest marks.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I often go, what does my conscience answer to? And that's, well, have I harmed the student for the sake of their curriculum? That's bad. But the artistry of like introducing a student to curriculum, I spend my first 2 weeks to 2 months every year on wooing the student to the subject matter. And it has changed my entire teaching practice.
Ooh.
So my one Bible 11 class, we spend the first half of the semester just teasing and introducing and asking question and kind of getting that curiosity before just going, okay, and now here's all the answers, thump. So the kids come in hungry, and I think that would be more of an answer to the question. I do believe there needs to be an artistry or should be an artistry to the teaching experience. In absence of that, I think that's a terrifying cliff to fall off of, where you kind of go, I'm just a widget maker, and the widgets happen to be kids.
Yeah.
But
do you think you'd use the same approach if you were doing like math?
I would, because even in my social studies, same thing. It was my favorite lesson, and that's what the kids remember too. Like, we have to remember 95% of the curriculum knowledge will fall off.
Yeah.
Well, what will kids remember? Relationship. So that doesn't mean we dumb everything down, but I do think like my favorite lesson of all time, I think still teaching, was one of my kids who was getting picked on quite a bit that year. I taught him the Canadian Railroad from a grilled cheese sandwich, and the entire class aced that exam because they look at a grilled cheese sandwich, they see the Canadian Railroad. It took 45 minutes. It was awesome. I actually got applause at the end. Like, I will never forget this. But it's knowing the kids, their creativity, the fact that they drove everyone nuts. But I absolutely love that class. I think it's artistry that we need to.
I really want to know, maybe not right now, but how you actually taught the Canadian Railroad from a
It was delicious. Sandwich. Yeah, I actually had to keep. It was my grilled cheese sandwich. It was one of the kids in the front row, but he couldn't eat the rest of it because we needed it for the exam. So it sat for the next week at the front of the class. And it was like all the kids could cheat because they're like, oh, there's the layer and that layer goes there. And yeah, it made sense to all of us. So it was
nothing like good mnemonic.
Yeah, it was very
wow. Was it a planned thing or like completely extemporaneous?
I think it was partly planned, but it was just knowing your subject material so well that you can
just kind of layer on top of anything. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, because I do think the teacher. Sorry, I'm kind of going on, but in my experience, sometimes we hide behind a lot of degrees. I think one of our main jobs should be to inspire kids, or must be to inspire kids. If we're not going to, oh man. Well, Fortnite isn't either.
Yeah.
I was going to say Kanye will, but
yeah, Kanye. The Alberta Treasury Board, though, they will.
They will. Treasury.
I don't even need to record any more ads in this thing. It's just ATB all the way through.
Every time I say it now, I imagine myself pulling a big trunk of
doubloons.
Doubloons into my
There's like
Civic.
pearls draped off the edge of it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
I don't know. Someone asked me last weekend. They said, "Hey, how's teaching going?" I was like, "Wow, teaching's probably the easiest part of my job. I mean, as most people understand it. Stand at the front of the room. My lesson's done. Here we go. Blah blah blah. Word vomit, and here you all go. Let's do some activities. Let's do some tactile stuff, and there you go. You got it. Here's your quiz." I was like, "That part's easy."
Yep.
Standing at the front of the room and picking up out of empathy the kid who just broke up with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or being able to figure out if someone's frustrated and they just need to go for a walk, or the kid who chugged 3 Red Bulls during lunch and then walked into my class and couldn't stop moving. And I just said, "Hey, do you need to go for a walk?" He's like, "Yeah, I need to go for a quick. So take a lap."
Yeah.
Right? Being able to pick up on those little things.
Yeah.
Working with people. We're not working with machines. These aren't computers. Being able to pick up on little things like that. And that's completely leaving aside the administrative part of the job, which is, oh, don't forget this. Oh, and this. And have you done this yet? And have you filled out this yet? Oh, and don't forget we got to do these outside of school and this and this and this. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
if all I had to do was teach, it'd be the easiest job in the world.
Then anyone could do it.
Yes. If everyone were just given pre-made materials and they went up to the front of the room and read off a sheet, I think most people could do that.
Subplans.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's pockets of the world where that is the case, right? That's what teaching is, right? It's been reduced to a very mechanical kind of just, page 73, do this, do this, do this, do this, all right? And give them this worksheet and this assignment and done, right? And that I think that reduces the profession to something that is like something that anyway, it's no longer a profession, right? It's just a job.
Yeah.
I think kids aren't interested in it either.
Yeah.
Like my goal with Kids in Science 20 is don't hate physics by the end of this.
Yeah.
It is so difficult. The physics
says
unit
on top of your syllabus. Like, don't hate physics.
Don't hate physics. The physics unit in Science 20 is very difficult, in my opinion. Someone who majored in physics, the physics unit is quite difficult.
Yeah.
And most kids who are going through Science 20 aren't like, oh yeah, physics, math, no problem, I got this. Most aren't, just as a general, broad strokes. Big blanket.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I mean, I grew up in BC. I did physics 20, physics 30, and it was fine, no problem. I, flew through it. Then I got to university in Alberta, and it just physics 101. I was like, this will be easy. I crushed it in high school. Destroyed me because Alberta, their curriculum is just so much more intense for physics. It's bonkers. So,
Mr. Pitchko, if you're listening, you're the only one who ever gave me a detention, and it was in physics 20. Mostly because I was throwing white out, but that's fine. It was also really hard.
But hey, coming back full circle, that's the thing that sticks with the students, right? It's like they remember the interactions, right? You remember that, right?
Yeah.
I remember, well, actually, there's a student in grade 12 in this school, and every now and then she reminds me that I'm the only student who ever gave her detention in grade 7. She still remembers that. And, really, we have a great relationship, but she always gives me the gears about that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Is that, that's so cliche. It's like, oh, it's all about relationship. But a lot of it is. And there's the administration side too. It's just like, you can't just walk in the street and do all of that stuff as well. And the perception, right? Being able to look at a student and not, and know at least to some extent, like something is wrong, or like knowing when to push and when not to push. You know, there's times you come here like, you're not doing your work, but I can tell from looking in your face, if I come over there and start pushing you, you're going to punch me in the face or you're going to start crying, or maybe both.
Yeah.
And neither of those I really want right now. You don't need that right now. So like having compassion, right? Being able to balance out like the human side of things with, like you say, you know, checking off the boxes of this is our physics, you know, we got to get through this. And
I think maybe that's the tightrope. I'm not sure if that's the right analogy, but with the amount of decisions we make in a day, I'm sure you make that in any job, but I notice with teaching, it's a lot of do. Like it's a lot of just go and react, and hopefully you react fairly consistently. But coupled with that, how many of us would go into a job of this magnitude, of this many decisions and people and that kind of thing, and then also add another layer, or the most important layer, of compassion? Like oftentimes when you are clicking a machine, or you're doing a till work or at McDonald's or wherever you are, you're not looking for compassion at that point. I mean, it's a bit of a different job too, but I do think, I mean, I teach 380 of our kids. And so you kind of go like, I've got all their names, that part's easy, but even to know life story, that takes years. And so, I mean, that's one thing that I've really noticed that, and my daughter is here at the school. So I've often kind of went, would I treat my daughter this way? You know, when a kid's being poor or good.
Ooh, I like that.
Would I actually want her to go home with this experience of, oh, Pastor Shaun or Mr. Smith was really frustrated with me, and like irrationally so, or just even kind of walking through that process. So there's always a point to redemption and to restore relationship. Like I've found I have a lot of time for that. But yeah, that's part of I think the capacities within teaching is just that always being healthy enough, because I don't think many of our colleagues are healthy enough. They're usually overworking or always on Twitter or a variety of other things and boosting their whatever. And you kind of go, how about let's just be healthy individuals and model that to our students? I think that's a huge, that's what I've learned this year is in coming back to the school this year, I kind of went, okay, I'm here for the lives of my students. Yes. I got to be healthy too. Yeah. So I think a teacher has to be in that space. And I'm from an all teacher family. So my family did not model healthy living. It was, hey, you still working at 10 at night? Stop it. Rewrite your assignments so you're not, because that's ridiculous. But
right on. Well,
spoken as a pure options teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I think you've summed it up, though. I think that's great.
Cool.
Yeah, I think you're officially now the new Jeremy of the podcast.
Awesome.
When I sort of look at percentage of like who's talking the most and that kind of thing.
Did he talk a lot?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He would talk a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know if he's listening now, but I hope he is, just so we can, get at him a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was always really smart stuff.
He just always kept talking.
Talk.
Yeah.
All right.
I tuned him out most of the time.
No, I'm not going to say it. All right. So
I got to get my doubloons from Alberta Treasury Board.
Is that going to be your timeout then? That's what we're going here now. We're going to timeout.
Okay.
Timeouts. I'll go, and I'll just go for the low hanging fruit, even though it's you know what? It's actually a true timeout in that it's been short. I haven't had a lot of time to do it, but boy, it's great when I've been doing it. Is a video game, because that's what I always do, but whatever. I got the new Tomb Raider game, and I'm just part of it is the game is good. Like, I mean, I've played every major Tomb Raider since 1997. Like, I've played all of them, every last one, front to back. I'm serious about this stuff. But so anytime a new one comes out, it's like
raiding those tombs for the treasure, eh?
Yeah.
Get to the treasury.
You know, you can store that treasure, right?
The
Alberta Treasury Board. Sorry, this is your timeout.
Anyways, but it's just been so good just to have, like, I've only literally played like maybe 2 hours in the month, but it's just been really good just to sit down and just be motionless for a little bit. Because man, you get home and it's like, and I love it. I love like playing with my kids, and like yesterday we were in the yard and I'm chopping wood, and and then come inside and you're doing all sorts of you never sit still, right? So it's been nice just to find like 2 hours in the month where I just sit down and I'm just playing a video game by myself, and it's just it's great. So that's been my sort of Zen timeout thing, is wandering around in the jungle shooting stuff. It's been good.
2 hours is a little low, though.
It's a lot low. It's a lot low. I'd like it to be higher, but
like a day. 2 hours a day.
Yeah, 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Don't mean to rain on your timeout parade.
Oh, well, you can play Fortnite with your kids though, right?
Oh, so very good.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm still working on it. My kids aren't that old, so they're still like, not quite. They know they can turn the Xbox on with their voice though, and that's hilarious. So my daughter can do it, but my son cannot yet. So he just kind of yells his like 2-year-old garble, and it's hilarious. So you just sit there going, Eggman, Bond, AK Bond. And he just gets kind of furious.
Just flickers and off and on, and then
No, it doesn't do
shuts
anything.
down.
It's just like, nope, not doing it. Anyway, timeouts.
Oh man.
Nothing. You're a new teacher. You have no life and no times.
You know what?
Timeouts.
As you were like, all right, timeouts. What are you doing? What are you doing for yourself just to take some time? And I was like, uh-oh.
Remember that whole talk during the podcast where we were talking about healthy?
Yeah, I remember that. That was a long time ago.
I'm feeling the weight of this right now.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I don't know. I went out to a youth retreat this weekend, and I didn't have to be a leader.
Oh,
It was really nice.
that is really nice.
It was like, all right, and everyone get into their cabin groups. And I was like, I'm going to sit at the back. All right. This can be just as much about me as you guys. So I got to do some really cool things with the students, but the responsibility wasn't on me.
Nice.
And as someone who's like, you guys know, a teacher for a job, it's like, I don't have to do anything here. I don't have to step in or do this or that.
Yeah.
It's just really,
That is nice.
It was peaceful. I was content.
Sweet.
I'm going to go in a different direction for timeouts.
Sure, yeah. You could do some sort of like, I was feeding pigeons in the park and
beautiful.
looking at the clouds and pondering the universe. You can do something like that.
You pretty much nailed it. Actually, it is not far off. I think one of the things I have struggled with the most in the last 5 years in teaching practice and everything is we put too much emphasis on our vacation time. Mm-hmm. So it always fails. So you kind of get to your vacation, you're like, I just need to, this is going to be the best vacation everywhere or ever. And so you fight with your kids or you
relax hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all are guilty of that. But I think I have practiced just being present. So my time out has been, and I never do, like I'm always busy, always like at a game, you're always doing something, not necessarily work related, but I'm always producing. So I have an addiction to production. Mm-hmm. And so I actually went to my son's basketball game. And I've never understood parents who are like just the cheers kind of thing. And I'm not I'm pretty loud, but but I was actually present. I was actually just enjoying. My son was the halftime game at the University of Alberta and Griffins game. Uh-huh. And a couple of the Griffins took my son under their wing, and it was a huge deal. It was actually a massive deal for him. Yeah. So being present in those moments as a dad, not being on your phone, not all those things. I actually just enjoyed with my son. I've done a lot of that. And so I'm going to continue with that. And I'm looking forward to snowboard season where we can continue timeouts and actually being present after school. So Sweet. I think that's for me is a huge thing too. When a timeout feels like more than an hour or it makes Monday and Tuesday, that break between those 2 days longer, that's a good timeout. So yeah.
Awesome. You mentioned a word there. What's a vacation?
Vacation.
I don't know what that is.
You get it in year 5.
Yes.
Is what I'm told.
Hold no for it.
No, because you're going to do that backyard rink this year. On your place with the thing.
Oh yeah. We're gonna have some outdoor hockey.
Backyard rink. Powered by ATB.
Powered by
ATB Financial.
It's not ATB. Alberta Treasury Board.
We got to get out of here before this gets anywhere.
The Alberta Treasury Board, where you can store all your, what is it, doubloons?
Your doubloons.
Your doubloons.
Or your pieces of 8.
And your Tomb Raider loot.
All right. Well, I think we're done. We're done?
No.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, believe it or not, this episode of Ed is brought to you by ATB. And while you're busy storing up your doubloons and your ATB accounts, you can also check out ATB Cares. It's one of the coolest ideas ever. You can donate to your favorite charity on atbcares.com, and ATB will cover the fees, plus they'll add 15% to your donation. Just last year, over $4 million was donated to charity through ATB Cares. You can check it out at atb.com. And if you want to get in touch or you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at theedpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter @theedpodcast. If you want to listen to more of Ed, you can head over to the website, theedpodcast.podme.com, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcatcher of your choice. Just search up Ed Conversations. Ed is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Ed can also be heard on VoiceEd Radio. It's 24-hour internet broadcasting devoted to the best ideas in education. Just head over to voiced.ca. So, on behalf of myself, Shaun, and John, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.